Welcome back to my channel. My name's Lisa Jane, and if you are new here, thank you so much for clicking on this video, and if you are returning, as always, thank you so much for supporting me and being here. This is going to be the second video now I'm recording in I'm going to say it's going to be an ongoing series, so it's sort of a mix of a wrap up and then getting ready for the new month ahead. So I have a list below which I'm going to go through. I hope you don't mind, but I think I've already spoken about this slightly. May is a busy month for me, so rather than grabbing all the books off my bookshelves, I am literally just going to be popping pictures here as I'm talking about them. I know I love to hold the books up and show you them, but I just think for time it would be quicker to just pop the book on the screen. Without further ado, we are just going to get into the video. So the first thing I am going to address is how well I did on my previous TBR, which was the April TBR, and I will pop a picture of it here for you to see. And as you can see, I did 4 out of the 8 books on that TBR. So I read Wrath of the Dragons, Clean Girl Spring, Powerful, and Death at Daffodil Inn. I didn't obviously get to When in Rome, The Glass House, The Hobbit, and Queen of Shadows. Now, I did read 2 other books, so I read 6 overall. I am sad about a couple of them because I was really wanting to get to Queen of Shadows and I just still haven't. And what was the other one I'd like to have read? The Glass House, because that has been on my TBR since 2024. So it was just one I really wanted to get off it, basically. But yeah, that's how well I did. Not brilliant, but I did half of the 8 and I never, expect to read all of them. If I do, it's probably going to be a miracle and I will be getting the party poppers out online if that ever happens, because I don't think I've ever completed one so far in the amount of times I've been doing it. I just like to set myself some, a smaller library of books to choose from out of the couple of hundred that I have got on my shelves that I still need to read. So we will now go into the book review segment of this video, and yeah, I hope you stick around because we've got plenty more to get through and I will just try and do this as quickly as I possibly can. I am going to do it a new way for the book reviews because I find trying to tell you my thoughts on these books is really difficult sometimes and I stumble around. So what I've done in advance is I've actually wrote them down as I've gone along. So I hope you don't mind. Let me know what you think, but I am literally going to read my review to you, and then I think I'm going to be popping these reviews also onto my Fable and Goodreads so that other people can obviously see what I think as well. But I'll say the first book, they're not in any order. One of the books I read in April was Mistborn, Book 1, from Era 1. So I think it's called The Final Empire. I'll pop a picture here. This wasn't on my TBR, but I really, really just felt the urge to pick it up. So I thought I'm going to do it and read it. So for Mistborn Book 1, I just put, this was my starting point for the Cosmere based on lots of recommendations from other people. I felt immersed into the story immediately and the plot pulled me in from the very beginning and kept me hooked throughout. The stakes are incredibly high and it's easy to find yourself rooting for the Scar, and these are the lower class people within this world. Our main female character, Vin, comes from this background, which makes her journey more emotional to follow. The story takes place under the rule of the Lord Ruler, where society is sharply divided. So we've got one side the nobility, and on the other side we've got like the lower class people who are the Scar. We get a glimpse into how the nobility live, so the lavish balls and all the political side of things. And then obviously we see on the other side the Scar, who are living in harsh conditions, and they're treated just horrendously by the upper class people. I've put the extent to which the nobility will go to maintain power is like really awful. They'll do some awful things, especially when it comes to preventing the Scar from having any magical abilities whatsoever. They like to keep them all to themselves. I've put the magic system, which is called allomancy, so it's based around metals, is like one of the highlights of the book. And, you know, I was really confused at first, but I know I've heard Jamie and Freya mention this, particularly Jamie, I think, that it is often repeated throughout the book constantly, so they keep reminding you how these metals and how this magic works, so eventually it will sink in if it doesn't straight away. Yeah, and basically it's based on them ingesting metals and burning them obviously within themselves, and this allows them to have these magical abilities. I've put, I love the found family dynamic, and the main characters and the wider crew were engaging and memorable throughout the book. Overall, a gripping and immersive start to the series with a unique magic system, because I've not seen anything with metals before, and I found that the characters were really strong in it, and yeah, I just look forward to seeing where this series is going to go as a whole. But yeah, that was a great starting point for me. I know people say different points, but I know the Mistborn Era 1 trilogy was recommended to myself, and that's where I started. Then we move on to the next book, which is Clean Girl Spring, and I gave this 3.75 out of 5 stars. This is by an author called Willow Hurst, and this is book 2 in the Magnolia Springs series, and I just put it was an easy seasonal read set in a small town. It was definitely an enjoyable follow-up to book number 1, which was, I can't think what it was called. I think it was called Cozy Girl Fall. That's what I want to say. I definitely recommend reading the books in order, as there are like, we see some of the characters from the first book in this next book, so it's definitely worth reading them if you want a more in-depth experience, I suppose, and you don't want any spoilers. I've put the story follows April, who returns to Magnolia Springs after walking in on her fiancé Tyler cheating right from the very beginning. So there's no spoilers. I think that was on the back of the book. And yeah, she comes back to Magnolia Springs and she's just feeling down and out and just doesn't know what to do with herself. Her job's back in, I think she lives in New York with Tyler, if I remember rightly. But yeah, she's walked in on him cheating and she's basically just up and left and gone back to where she came from. And that's where it sort of starts. I've put the highlight for me was the focus on relationships. So the bond April shares with her mum and her brother were just like gorgeous. I just really loved it, and you could tell they were really like genuine and had this warmth towards each other, and the brother was like fiercely protective, and obviously when he found out what this Tyler had done, he was like just wanted to go and sort him out basically. So yeah, really like that. And she also has 2 friends within Magnolia Springs that were from her childhood, who she's grown up with and gone to school with. And, you know, they've all stayed in touch, but she's come back to Magnolia Springs and they are there. And I just loved it. And it was like them coming round to her mum's house and them getting the popcorn and the chocolate out and watching a movie together. It was just like a lovely way to see how friendships stay and grow. You know, I don't know how to explain it any better than that, but yeah, the warmth of that friendship group was just lovely. We also meet a character called Luke. Now Luke is now his brother's best friend, but he was also a long-time rival with April in school. They used to come up against each other and she used to want to beat him and everything. and there's a bit of tension there in the storyline. And I've also put that the book lightly touches on grief, so just be aware of that. It is a light touch, but I felt it was done really nicely, and the book didn't feel heavy, but I felt it added that extra emotional layer and depth to the story. I also had a theory in my mind around the 70 to 80% mark. I thought something was going to happen, and probably if you've read this book or you know romance books well, you'll sort of know what I'm getting at. And actually it didn't happen. What I thought was going to happen didn't. I got it completely wrong, but I would say I got it wrong in a good way. So I also put the book does include some spicy scenes, and one scene in particular, now I don't think it was a spicy one, I just think it was one scene in the book felt very identical to a scene I've read in another. Now I can't remember if it's a scene within this series or it's a scene that I've seen in another seasonal romance series, but it just felt like deja vu, like I was reading the same scene again, and I don't know what that was about. However, yeah, overall I've put this was a cosy story with strong relationship dynamics and a comforting small town feel, and perfect if you want to read something a bit lighter but still has that emotional depth. Yeah, so really enjoyed this one. We then move on to book number 3 that I read, and that was Wrath of the Dragons by Olivia Rose Darling. This is book number 2 in the Fear the Flame series. This is planned for a 4-book series as far as I'm aware, and it's an adult romantasy series. I read this on Kindle ahead of the paperback that's coming out this July, I think, because once I'd read Fear the Flames, which is book 1, I just couldn't wait any longer, and I saw it on Kindle Unlimited and had to download it. Now, I don't want to spoil anything, so I'm going to keep it spoiler free, because obviously I don't want to spoil anything in the first book. But for context, we'll talk about the first book a little bit. The first book is called Fear the Flames, and this follows Elowyn. Now, Elowyn Atara is an exiled princess, and she was tortured and separated from her 5 dragons that she bonded with when she was born. Now, believe it or not, the person to torture and separate her from her dragons was actually her father, which is just horrific to think about, that your father would do something like this. And anyway, she ends up teaming with her enemy, which is Commander Caden Velis. Now, I just love the chemistry between these two characters. I just loved I loved the 2 books, completely loved them. And they basically in book 1 have to pull off a heist they go on this mission to reclaim her dragons, and that's where book 1 goes. And there's lots of, things happening in book 1, and then we pick it back up straight away in book 2, and I will just say you get everything here, even more world building, higher stakes, more dragons. And yeah, if you enjoyed book 1, you will certainly enjoy book 2. And I've just put, overall, this was a strong continuation of the series that expands on a world, likeable characters, while keeping the pace and tension high. And yeah, I can't wait for the next book in the series, which I'm so sad because I don't think it's probably coming out till at least next year. And this one left on a bit of a cliffhanger, book number 2. So yeah, I really love this. I think this is going to be one of like my top tier series in romantasy. I honestly don't think that I'm going to feel any differently by the time I've finished it. Then we move on to book number, is this book number 3? for book number 4, which was a new release, and it was How to Write a Love Story by Catherine Walsh. I've not read anything by Catherine Walsh before, and I wanted to give her book a go. I would say the concept was novel for this book. I've not read anything like this before, but somehow I just wasn't as engaged with it as I would have liked to have been, which is really sad because I thought I was going to love it and I just didn't, which hence the reason I gave it 3 stars. I've put it most definitely was a slow burn romance, so if this is the kind of book you enjoy, then you will definitely like this one. And this book follows our main FMC, Kira Sheridan, and our main MMC, Sam Avery. Kira is the daughter of a famous fantasy writer, Frank Sheridan. Frank passes away, and basically he's been writing this fantasy series, and he has 1 book left in the series unfinished, and he's left it to the hands of his daughter to write this final book. Kira is an author in her own right. She writes more thriller kind of books, so this is quite out of her comfort zone. So yeah, and then Sam is a book editor who works in New York, and they are overseeing the book series that Frank was writing, and this has been a really popular series, so that a lot relies on this last book being right. So Sam flies over to Ireland from New York to support Kira in creating this final book, and yeah, that's where the story goes. Don't want to say too much more than that, but yeah, it was a good book, and I would be interested to see what other books Catherine Walsh has written, and let me know if there's any favourites that you like of her books, and I will see if I can give them a go. The next book was Death at Daffodil Inn. This is book number 2 in the, I can't think what it's called, the Cinnamon Falls series. So the first book was called A Cinnamon Falls Mystery. I absolutely love that book, so I had high expectations for this one. They're not anything majorly out there, but it was just that comforting, cosy mystery read that sometimes just hits the spot. And I ended up giving this one 3 out of 5. And I put Morgan, who is the main MMC. No, not the main MMC. Morgan is the main MFC, sorry. She is a primary school teacher, and her parents own the Daffodil Inn. And then we have Will, who is the main MMC, and he works for his father Calvin's gardening business. Now, we do have overlap of characters from the first book, which builds a sense of community. And again, I feel like if you really want to get the most out of a series, you are best to read these in order as well. The story centres around a death at the Daffodil Inn during the festival that is hosted by this hotel every year that Morgan's mum and dad own. And yeah, I enjoyed it. It was good. There was a moment around the 35, there was also a moment around the 35% mark that genuinely surprised me, and I even had to double check these details, and it turned out it was right, and I was thinking the right thing. But I'll stay quite vague because I don't want to spoil anything for anybody. But yeah, I wasn't expecting that. But yeah, I had mixed feelings overall with Will, who's the main MMC, because his character was a slight bit confusing, because he was like this perfect person almost in many ways, but then he had a darker past which we don't really delve into too much, and I probably would have liked to have seen a bit of a better balance, and I probably would have liked to have known what his past was or what that involved a little bit more. But yeah, so his character was a bit, I don't know, it didn't come together for me in quite the right way. I've said the writing felt a little bit more wooden in places with this one and stilted. It just, yeah, and it took me out of the story at times. So overall, I put this was a decent continuation of the series, but not as strong as book 1. But I'm still interested enough to carry on with the series because I know that they are just good fun reads and they're really quick and easy to get through. So that was that one. And then the last book is Powerful, which is the second book in the Powerless series by Lauren Roberts. Powerful is a novella. It's a very short book, but I gave this one 3.75 stars. I really, really enjoyed it. And for a novella, I felt like we did pack a bit of a punch with how much was in there. But I have put, it was a fairly simple story, but it doesn't take away from how enjoyable it was. The pacing makes it quick and engaging, and it gives you more of an insight into the side character. So this book, if I hadn't already said, which I don't think I did, follows Adina. And Adina is Payden's friend. And Payden was obviously the main MFC in book number 1. And we follow Adina, who is her friend, in this one. Now, having read the first book, there was a moment, and it was probably as I got more towards the end of it, I suddenly had this light bulb moment, and it dawned on me that I knew how this story was going to end. And from this point on, I was sort of just waiting for it to happen. And it was so sad, and I was so sad. But yeah, it was very emotional, and I just thought it was excellent. I just thought for a novella, it was just a really, really good book. If you are thinking about starting this series, or you've only read book number 1, I would definitely consider reading the novella, which is Powerful. Yeah, I put overall a short but impactful read that adds emotional depth to the series, and for a novella, it focuses on a side character, which I really enjoyed. And, you know, it's always good to focus on the side characters because some of them can be really interesting. I want to continue to the next segment of this video, which is my May TBR. I will quickly show you a picture of my May TBR here. And I just wanted to let you know that my book club pick with Freya and Jamie, I am part of the Once Upon a Time Zone book club. We are reading in the month of May Dungeon Crawler Carl, which is book 1. I think it is the Dungeon Crawler Carl series, I want to say. I think it is. It is. It's Dungeon Crawler Carl, book 1. And this just says, I don't know if it's going to be my kind of book, but I found it on Kindle Unlimited, so I'm going to be reading it on here. And it says, the apocalypse will be televised. You know what's worse than breaking up with the girlfriend, being stuck with her prize-winning show cat? And you know what's worse than that? An alien invasion, the destruction of all man-made structures on Earth, and the systematic exploitation of all the survivors from a sadistic intergalactic game show. That's what. Join Coast Guard vet Carl and his ex-girlfriend's cat, Princess Donut, as they try to survive the end of the world or just get to the next level in a video game like trap-filled fantasy dungeon. A dungeon that's actually the set of a reality television show with countless viewers across the galaxy. Exploding goblins, magical potions, deadly drug-dealing llamas. This ain't your ordinary game show. Welcome, Crawler. Welcome to the dungeon. Survival is optional. Keeping the viewers entertained is not. So actually, I think this might be quite a fun read. And yeah, I don't know when I'm going to read it in the month of May, but I hopefully will get around to that one because we do book club discussions at the end of the month. So I like to be a part of them. I'm just going to quickly go through the books I have added to my Kindle, and they are Daggermouth, which is book 1 in a series, and this is by H.M. Wolfe. I've added West Wicked by Nikki St. Crow, which is book 1 in another series. I don't know what these series are called, so you might need to go and look them up, but I'll put the books here so you can see them. I've added Bitten by Jordan Stephanie Gray, which is book 1. I think this is called The Bitten. I don't know if it's a duology or it is a series. And then I've also added Hair of Broken Fates by Mads Rafferty, which is also book 1 in a series. I don't know when I'm going to get round to them, but I'd just like to let you know what I've added to my Kindle. I've also unhauled 6 physical books in the month of April, which I think I'm just not going to get around to, and that is Twin Crowns, The Inheritance Games, Out of the Woods, Red Queen, Rewitched, and The Family Upstairs. I just think there's no point in hanging on to these books. I've either started them and DNF'd them, or soft DNF'd them, or I've just not got round to them yet and I'm just not interested in them anymore. If there is one on that list that you think, really, please, Lisa, give it a go, let me know and I'll see whether I want to keep hold of it and try it again maybe later on this year. The books I bought in April are Rights of the Starling, which is book 2 in the Shield of Sparrow series. I'm really looking forward to reading this one. I've also bought The Thorn Queen, which is book 2 in the Rose Bargain duology. I think that is just a 2-book set, so once I've read that one, I will be completed. I also bought Starside, which is book 1 in the Starside series. There is no number as of yet of how many books is going to be in this series, but I do know book 2, which is called Stormside, is coming out in November. And then we've got Broken Country, which I bought, The Correspondent, and Legendborn. So I read 6 and I've actually picked up another 6. So trying to get my physical TBR down, and I end up buying more or just about the same as I've already read. So we're not doing very well on that. Let's do a series update. So this is just a quick rundown. I have 96 series now in total on my book tracker, because obviously a couple of the books I've unhauled are part of series, so I've knocked them off. I'm up to date with 13. I'm in the middle of 16, which I will pop here so that you can see that one. And I have completed 5. But obviously, if you want a more in-depth video of my series tracker, please let me know and I'll see what I can do. With regards to my April series update, I got up to date with 3 series. I got up to date with Cinnamon Falls, Magnolia Springs, and Fear the Flames. I read a book in the Powerless series, and I started the Mistborn trilogy, Era 1. And then if we move on now to my seasonal TBR, I will pop a picture of it here. And I have read so far from this seasonal TBR, In the Weeds, Clean Girl Spring, and Death at Daffodil Inn. Now, as you can see, I did pick 10, which is fine. These are like my hopefuls, if you like. But I'm sure I'm not going to get round to all of these now. But I do have another 2 of these books on my May TBR. So I'm hoping to at least complete 5 of the 10 that I did choose. I think I did pick this spring TBR a little bit later than I would like to. So it did impact my reading slightly. But yeah. I have now made a summer TBR list, and I will be doing a separate video for that, and I will go through the books that are on there. So that will be a video coming in May at some point, and that will run from June to August. So hopefully we'll do a bit better on that one. And I think I've picked 12 books on that list, so we shall see. But I am going to call it my summer TBR hopefuls, because I don't want to be putting lots of pressure on myself. They're obviously all books I'd love to read, but I don't want to just speed through books. I like to take my time and enjoy them. So yeah, we'll get to as many as we possibly can. We will now do an update on my 12 picks for 2026. I have only completed 2 books on this list, which is Mistborn and Addie LaRue. So I've still got 10 books to read, but I think 2 of them are on my May TBR, which is Neverthorn and The Will of the Many. So I'm hoping to knock at least another 2 off. And I think I'm going to try and get round to them books pretty early on in May, if I can, depending on what's going on, and see if I can knock them off. So I hope you enjoyed that ramble. Like I say, I want to do it more of a book review. I'm getting ready for the next month ahead so that you can see where I'm up to on things. I have put a few posts out recently, and I just want to say I may be a little quieter in the month of May. I am planning to try and get another couple of videos up for you because I want to video my summer TBR hopefuls video, and I also obviously need to do my June TBR video. So with this one, there should be about at least 3 videos in May for you to watch. I also wanted to just quickly touch on the fact that I have posted on my community tab or in my post section on the YouTube. Each month now, at the beginning of each month, I'm going to put up a picture of my TBR book cart for 7 days, and I would like you to choose a book that you would like me to read on that cart. I am going to say I'm going to keep it up for 7 days, and I'm going to do it over on Instagram as well. And then what I'm going to do, the book with the most votes over on Instagram and on YouTube, is the book that I'm going to add to the following month's TBR. I hope that all makes sense, but I have explained it in my post section as well. So I think I only posted the other day my TBR cart, so please let me know what book you would like me to read. If people do add to that list, I will take that into consideration. But yeah, I think that's everything. And yeah, I hope you're enjoying this type of style of video. It's just a catch up. It's showing you the graphics that I've created, what I'm working towards, how well I'm doing on these things as well. And yeah, let me know what you think, and I will see you in the next video. Take care, everyone. Bye bye.